our wellness practice this afternoon as part of our workplace wellness coordinator training. And once again, we have Pamela Santer with us, who she sent all those attachments to us, very generous with her time, with her information. And so we appreciate her being here. Pamela, I will be happy to watch the chat for you and let anybody in that comes in late, but I will let you take the show from here.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to add to what Paula said because I was going to bring in a little bit of what she's talking about. And I'm here to talk about mindfulness today. But I've got a little bit, was going to fill in some of that stuff. So I think I'm just going to go off of what she was saying because I'm a certified personal trainer. So there's been a lot of things I've done with personal trainer, and we talk about the small goals. And when we talk, and keep this in mind with what we're going to do on mindfulness today also. When you're setting goals, sometimes it's like what I want to have achieved by tomorrow. So it's something just very small. So many times I would say it's just drinking additional water, possibly. So it's just what I want in one day, then up 3 days. So setting your goals small and attainable goals. But a huge thing that's going to be a part of that is the barriers that keep us from reaching our goals, identifying those. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today with mindfulness. But there's, when you're doing a mindfulness practice, you might not get your practice in and you're worried about it. Think about what kept you from doing that, and then strategies that you can do to break down that barrier. So that's huge. Many times it's amazing what we find out that the strategies, the barriers that we don't even realize that we have that's keeping us from attaining a goal. So I just wanted to add that on since Paula was talking about that, just add that on. So I'm here today to talk about mindfulness. I am a co-founder of Mindful West Virginia, and I'm very pleased to report today that as of last week, we have trained in mindfulness 10% of the educators in West Virginia. We started off with a very small $3,000 grant. And in the last trainings we've done, what we're getting from our educators, they're coming back and they're saying, wow, I can't believe these little tools that I'm using are making such a big difference in the way I'm handling the kids. And what's the most important thing that they're coming out and saying, which I'm very pleased with, they're actually able to admit to us, we realize that part of the problem was with me, not with the student, but they were, instead of responding, they were reacting to something. So when we talk about mindfulness, I like to give a little bit of history on it. And what I'm here today to do, I could spend 5 hours talking about mindfulness, the scientific stuff about it, all that kind of stuff. But what I want to try to do in this hour is to give you tools and give you easy ways to start your own mindfulness practice. So when you talk about mindfulness, the first thing people will say, mindfulness, meditation, what's the difference? Meditation is on the mat, all right? Mindfulness is on or off the mat. So with meditation, you're going along and you've got thought, and no thought. And then thought. So right here where you have no thoughts, that's your meditation time. Mindfulness is carried on 24/7. So it's all the time. So you are living in the present moment. You're observing what is happening in your life right now. That is being mindful. We spend so much time thinking about what happened in the past, ruminating about all these things about happening in the past, what could I change, or being very anxious about what's happening, coming in the future, that we don't take the time to spend mindfully in what's happening right now. Why do that? Well, studies are coming out over and over again. Mindfulness slows the heart rate down. When it slows down the heart rate, we can rewire our brain. We have the fight or flight mechanism in there. So if we retrain the brain and we're calming it down, the heart rate goes down, focus improves. So we're able to attain the things that we want to do right at that moment in a better way. So, all these people who talk about multitasking, uh, you many people are proud of that. But we're changing the thinking on that multitasking. We're not putting everything into our total attention when we're doing this multitasking. So not only that, but the anxiety goes up. You're anxious because you've got all the stuff. You're trying to keep your mind on what's going on. So being mindful is being mindful of what's going on right now. So slows down your heart rate, and it's not completely clearing your mind. We talk about monkey brain, and what I do, especially when I'm working with the youth and I'm doing mindfulness with youth, and I'll say our minds are full of so much. So what I have them do is I tell them after I count to 3, I want all of you to start from the very first time you woke up and tell me out loud what you've done from the time you woke up. So you have all this chatter in this room. And I say, okay, close it up. I said, that's what's going on in your brain. Is your mind full? Are you being mindful? Are you being mindful of what's happening? So you're clearing your thoughts, and we become non-judgmental. We talk about thoughts coming through your brain when you're trying to practice mindfulness. And I'm going to get to that in a minute because I want to talk about getting yourself into mindfulness. And that's where we come into these different things. So if you're saying you're trying to learn mindfulness so you can learn the skills that you need to do or do the tasks that you need to do right then. So if you're not in the present moment, you can't learn those. Our minds wander 47% of the time. So 47% of the time, our minds are wandering. So, we have a kid that walks into the classroom and they're carrying all this baggage from the house or all these emotional baggage. And we tell them, okay, you sit down there and they'll learn. Their minds are wandering. How can they learn? But through the mindfulness, we can teach them to rewire that brain, to calm down. Now, with our last session that I had with you guys, I talked about breath. So breath is the basis. That's the basis. And that's why I wanted to teach the foundation of mindfulness is that breath and learning the breath control. Another thing that we think about, 80% of our thoughts during a day are negative. 80% are negative. So think about that when you start your day and you're thinking of all the things you have to do or a negative thing that you have to do. Think about that with 80% of our thoughts being negative. So you say, okay, I can't do this because I can't sit still. I can't sit still. I can't meditate or I can't be mindful because I can't sit still. Well, guess what? You can do a mindful meditation while you're walking. So, you don't have to sit still. If you don't feel comfortable sitting still, don't sit still. Do a mindful walk. My favorite thing is mindful eating. Have you ever stopped and really tasted, looked at the food, feel the texture, taste the texture, feel the texture in your mouth? My most favorite mindful thing to do is to do the potato chip, mindful eating of a potato chip. So you pass the potato chips out. Can't do that with COVID, but when in our COVID-free world, we passed potato chips out. So you put the potato chip in your mouth. And so I start telling, okay, taste it, feel it against your tongue. What's the texture? What's that taste like? How does that feel like? Do over half the people that do that, when they finish, they go, I really don't like potato chips because we have the crunch, the crunch is what we really like. So we're crunching them. We're not really tasting. They go, ooh, the texture, ooh, it's fatty. It's like, I don't like them. So think about the things that you're doing, so take the time to be mindful. Washing the dishes, feeling the soap, smelling the soap. I get caught up when I'm getting ready in the morning. Okay, I got 5 more things to do. I've got to do this, and this getting ready in the morning. And so I've tried to slow myself down because it's a constant battle. Not a battle, but it's a constant positive fight to get your mind in that mindful set. So I'm constantly, how can I change it? So, instead of me thinking, okay, I got 5 more things, almost got finished with this, I'll kind of break it down. How does this feel? How do I feel doing it? I'm putting lotion on. What does it smell like? How does it feel on my hands? Bringing ourselves back to the mindful moment. When you talk about mindfulness, it's very important to think that it's part of self-care, and it's part of taking care of yourself. Scheduling it, that can be hard. If you talk about, trying to schedule something, write it down. Paula talked about writing it down. If you physically write it down that this is the time that I'm going to do this, then you're more apt to do it. I know when I have 4 children, and when they were young and I was busy doing something and I was saying they would want something, just give me a minute, just give me a minute. I was always telling them no, and I didn't like that. And I wanted to share with them that, hey guys, if I'm able to recharge and do what I need to do, then I'm going to be a better person. So I started the red bandana. So I would put a red bandana on, and if my daughters would see me with a red bandana on, they knew I was busy doing something. However, as soon as I took that red bandana off, I would be there for them. So it was kind of a safety network. That's how I broke down that barrier. I made a strategy to break down that barrier that I could do what I needed to do, and everyone was happy in the end. So they had that reassurance that mom's busy, but as soon as she's finished busy doing this task, she'll be with me. So that helps a lot. So we talked about sitting still, and I talk about taking care of yourself. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. It drains. And when I talk about, really, when you think about it a long time, if you get that draining feeling, you start feeling, I don't want to do this. You're thinking, this isn't fun. I don't want to do this. You're regretting it. So if we schedule time for ourselves and take care of ourselves, we are going to be there for other people in a better way, in the best way we can be. When you're talking about doing this, they'll say, they talk about meditating for 20 minutes or half an hour. I can't do that. Guess what? I couldn't do that when I started either. But guess what? I could do it for 2 minutes. That was my first goal. And that's what we'll do with a lot of people when they're learning this. Only do it for 2 minutes. But boy, when you do that for 2 minutes, you go, I attained a goal. I made it. I did it. And so just do short times. Start out with short. That's what we find out happens a lot with individuals with mindfulness. They will start out with doing mindfulness, and it kind of blends over into the meditation, because once they start clearing their minds, then all of a sudden they go, wow, I had no thoughts when I was trying to sit there and be quiet or being mindful of what was going on at the time. If you say you don't have time, schedule the time. Put it in your book, for 5 minutes, and make it small when you start. Just make it small. Make it an attainable goal. But every time you go back to it, think about, how can I change what I'm doing in a day and be mindful of what I'm doing right then? How many of you have driven someplace and you get there and you go, boy, I don't remember stopping at that stoplight, because your mind is so full of all those other things that are going on. So you'll get used to it. Once you start pulling yourself back to those mindful things, it'll become automatic. And it's easy to do when you're pulling yourself back to that mindful moment. We talk about thoughts coming into our brain. You're sitting there and you're trying to be mindful, and a thought comes through. Hey guys, open up the back door and let it go out the back door. Don't serve it tea. Don't let it sit there. Be non-judgmental. Let it leave. Just let it come and go. Don't serve it go. Or I do some mindful things that we're going to do in that in a little bit about bubbles. When we have stresses and we're doing a bubble activity, we put it in a bubble. Don't climb in that bubble and go away with that anxiety or that anger or that stress. Keep yourself away from, let it take that away, but don't climb into the bubble. So think of those. Let those thoughts come and go, but be non-judgmental. Especially, is it a thought about tomorrow in the future? Nothing you have control over? Is it a thought, a regret about the past that you can't do anything about? But can we make the most of this present moment, our present? That's your present, this present moment that you have right now. Another thing is incorporating it into your daily activity. I find that if you have a scheduled time for it, you're more apt to do it. If you have a scheduled time that you're going to do this every day, think about in the morning. Mine's at morning time. I get up first thing in the morning and I have a little bit of time just to myself. And I find just setting that alarm a little bit earlier and getting up that manner, I'm better set for the day. And boy, if I don't get that because I'm used to doing it, I feel it during the day. If something happens and, I don't get that time, it's hard to get it. So when that happens, we go back to that breath work. We talk about the breath. I sent you a 3-part breathing paper, and that talks about the 3-part breathing. What I want you to know, that is not yoga breathing. That's not mindful breathing. That's not meditation breathing. When I was talking about breath work, remember I talked about just the correct way to breathe and getting your entire lungs filled with air. And that's what your aim is, getting the entire lung filled with breath, with air, expanding that rib cage completely, getting your lungs filled with air. What happens once you start that breath? When we inhale, we have our heart rate goes up a little bit, but as we exhale, it really drops. So when you get into that smooth inhale, exhale, then you're exhaling and you get that heart rate down. When you get used to doing that, and I have a lot of students that I work with, they'll say that once they learn that breath, if they're in a stressful situation, they'll just stop and take that one deep breath and they can kind of feel it washing over their body. They feel that calmness coming over their body. So that's something that you want to remember. So let's say you're hard on yourself, okay? And you're really trying to do this mindful stuff and it's just not working. Let me check something. I thought I had turned this. Okay. Sorry. So you're beating yourself up because you're not doing this. You really want to do it. What I want you to remember, guys, is to forgive, investigate, and then invite. So forgive yourself. If you didn't get your practice done that day, that's okay. It's not all or nothing. If you didn't get it at the end of the day, you didn't get it, give yourself 1 minute. Say, okay, I did it for 1 minute. So don't always think it's all or nothing. There is a middle of the road, and that's good meeting there at the middle of the road, knowing that, it's not all or nothing. I can still have some and accomplish the goals that I want with the mindfulness. So forgive yourself if you didn't do it. Then investigate. What's investigate? Okay, that's what kept you from doing it. Remember, I was talking about the barriers. Those barriers that happen, many times those barriers are what can we do to break those, the strategies? And that's the key, identifying the barrier, but then it's the strategy that you're going to use to break down that barrier. That scarf I tied around my neck, that was my strategy. So what strategy are you going to do? Maybe you're going to tie a scarf around your neck so you can do this mindful moment and give yourself back. And then invite yourself back to being mindful, saying, I deserve this. So invite yourself back. Some of the ways that you can invite yourself back, I like to have a calm box. I know we encourage our teachers to do, our educators to do, is to do a mindful corner or a calm corner. In that calm corner, we'll have activities for them to do that they get, bubbles, bubble wrap, all kinds of mindful jars, all kinds of different things that they could do. So maybe you'll have a box on your desk or something that you'll have some of these mindful things in. I love to put an eraser in there because, guys, all mistakes can be erased. And the fact that you didn't get that mindfulness in, that can be erased because, guys, we've got that next moment that's going to be right there for us, that next present moment that we can do that. So another thing that people like to do, I like to say, perhaps you love the beach. Put a beach picture in there. Perhaps pictures of your loved ones. Stress balls. I like positive affirmations too. One of our favorite positive affirmations that we do with students is a tap. It's a tapping too. If you've ever know anything about tap, this is a little bit of a tapping too, and it's peace begins with me. So you're tapping, and it's peace begins with me, guys. That is a small, very small, mindful meditation. We do this with hundreds of kids now. Hundreds of kids in West Virginia are doing Peace Begins with Me. I have seen a whole auditorium filled with kids chattering, and an educator will go to the front of the room and they will just start doing this. All the students start doing that. Within 2 minutes, everyone is quiet and calm, and they're doing Peace Begins with Me. And guess what? When you do that and start doing it in that way, if you're in a stressful situation, you do this, Peace Begins with Me, and guess what? It comes back. I like to share the story with United Way. We did a small training with United Way, and that was one thing that we had taught them, the Peace Begins with Me. I've been on Zoom calls, and it's like a real stressful Zoom call, and it's like, and other people are, like that. And everyone's like, what's going on there? What's going on there? So that's just a small mindful meditation thing. Kids are doing it, but I was presenting at Rotary a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling the people, Rotarians, about what we're doing with our children. And I had a minister come up, and they go, "Oh my gosh," they go, "that's what my son does to put himself to sleep. They calm himself down before he goes to bed." And I go, "Well, that's where he learned it. It's Peace Begins with Me." And I said, and he says, "Maybe I should do this at my services now. We'll get up and start doing that to quiet down the congregation." So it's pretty neat. And I love being out in the city, and I'll see a small child, and I'll go, "Oh, what school do you go to?" And they'll go, "Franklin." And I'll go, and they go, "Peace begins with me." It's like they immediately, they associate that. I know that they've shared this training with them. So those are just small things that you can do. I like beads. Can you get my Natamala up there? Those little beads that you have that you can do in the Mardi Gras beads. That's another thing that's kind of neat to use. And you can inhale and exhale with the beads, inhale, exhale. That is a mindful activity. Coloring is a mindful activity. I'm getting it. Have you seen the malas that you see a lot of the malas that people carry around? One of the things that we do in our trainings is it's a knotted mala. So this is a knotted mala that I made, and if you can see, it's a certain kind of twine that we get, and then we put knots in it, and we tie knots in it. The act of tying those knots is a mindful activity because I'm mindful on what I'm doing. So coloring, like I said, so this is another thing. You inhale and exhale as you're going through this. You can do Peace Begins with Me. I am calm. I'm the coolest mom ever. Convince yourself, I can do this. So those are just activities. The paper things that you put together and staple, and you get these long things, that's a mindful activity too. I was working with a group of middle school kids, and we were doing those little things. Well, they were putting positive affirmations on those, and they were making those, and then they took them to the nursing homes for individuals to break off a positive, go by and break off a positive affirmation. So as they're doing this, I'm telling you, they're looking up and I go, what are you guys doing? And they go, a mindful activity. So they realize, they're doing a mindful activity that's going to calm themselves down, but they're giving back with that. So it's a very powerful type thing when you start to think about that. Mindfulness is becoming a big thing in recovery, behavioral type thing. There's this whole training where mindfulness is the basis of this. They do individual and group training in therapy sessions, and that is the bottom. I see Patrice on there, and Patrice, I've got some stuff I'll bring with you on this training. So this is very powerful. So when I actually heard about this yesterday on our mindful initiative, state initiative, and this doctor was talking about this training is the basis of it. The foundation is mindfulness. That's what they're teaching all of these people, not only the child if they're working with a child, but the family, or not the person in recovery, but the whole family with these type of things. So our rhythms in our brain keep changing constantly. And when we take a breath, that breath, it signals relaxation. So like I say, with that breath work, you take that deep breath and you immediately get that quieting. In our mindful moments, we're accepting the way things are without judgment right now. So we learn to be non-judgmental about how many thoughts come through your mind, and you're thinking about it and you're thinking pros, cons, all this stuff. Think of the time that we spend on thoughts that there's nothing we can do about. Really no control over. So it's wasted energy, especially if we get anxiety. So we allow feelings to exist, but we don't live them. We let them go. We let them go. Don't get in the bubble. Don't serve them tea. Let them go. So you notice the thoughts as they arise. That's a lot of people say, well, I got so many thoughts coming into my brain. Acknowledge them when you're sitting there quietly, and then just let them leave. Just let them leave. So when we're practicing mindfulness too, and you talk about sitting still or walking or the different types of meditations you can do, there are also apps on your phone. There's a lot of Calm Mind, Smiling Minds. A lot of these are free. That's a very good, and some of them are age appropriate. So you can pick for an age group if you have a small child that you're working with. And so you can use these apps with the children. So this makes it easy because it will talk you through. It'll do a guided imagery. It'll talk about the breath work. So it brings you and it makes it easy. These apps it makes it easy. We're going to do a couple of mindful activities and body scans. But what I want to talk a little bit more about some of the handouts. I gave you the labyrinth. This is a finger labyrinth that you guys all got. So when I talk about the labyrinth, I have a walking labyrinth. Amy, I brought it up. I just remembered I brought it up. So I have a walking labyrinth, and you actually walk it. But this is a finger labyrinth. And so what you can do is you can laminate this, and then you can use it and just follow that. So it's a mindful meditation as you're going with the using your finger to go through this. When I introduced to a labyrinth, I was just it was walking, and I all of a sudden I saw these wooden finger labyrinths, and I thought, oh no, those aren't for me. I'm a physical person. I like the walking labyrinth. While I was presenting for Sisters Health Foundation, we were doing a thing on depression, and Sister Molly had her finger labyrinth there. So I was waiting to present, and I was sitting there, and I went like this on it. And it's just as soon as I made that, it was like, oh, it calmed me down. So it's the simplest things you learn. So I became a believer in the labyrinth. And I like to tell a story My oldest grandchild was in kindergarten. He's a junior in high school now. Loved the labyrinth. He absolutely loved the labyrinth. And he's in kindergarten. He goes, Noonie, can you bring the labyrinth to my school? And I'm going, well, I can ask your teacher, but the teacher seemed older, and I thought they might think this is new age. And so I went and I talked to her and I said, Alec likes this. And she was completely on board. And I thought, oh, wow, this is cool. So we made arrangements. Well, then I get a call from her. And she said, I was talking to the teachers and they asked if we could do it for the whole school. So that day we ended up doing this for the whole school. We put it in the gym. They set it up in the gym. Well, the first period, the gym class that did it was sixth graders. And so they weren't sure how to use this labyrinth. So they called kindergarten person to come and show them how to walk this. And when I happened to pick him up at school that day, and Mrs. R said, do you teach him a speech on this? And I go, no, actually, I've never told him anything about the labyrinth. I haven't said how to walk it, nothing. We just walk it and experience it the way it is. And she said, well, we went and got him and he starts walking. He goes, hey, guys, I'll tell you something. This is going to calm you down. This is going to make you feel good, And I'm like, here's this kindergarten talking to these sixth graders. And, he was very confident about that. So what happened? This is a sticker. This is like probably a 4x4 sticker that we found. And he got this for his classmates for Christmas. And the teacher put him, instead of taking him home, she put him in a booklet. So the students kindergarten started using these every day at the beginning of the day. They started doing it. Mrs. R told me by the end of the school year, she would have the students, kindergarten, coming up to her and saying, I think I need to do my labyrinth. So they would do their labyrinth and they would calm themselves down. So there's a lot to be said for these little mindful activities that's going to bring what works for you. Find out what works for you. Some things that'll work for other people won't work for you, but try the different things out. So I like the labyrinth. And if any of you are interested, I'm considered the labyrinth facilitator now, and I have the walking labyrinth that I can bring and share with you. These are I did the simple grounding activities. The exercise. That's a way to calm yourself down as far as 5 things you see, 4 things you feel. If you're doing this, make sure you do it slowly, or if you're doing it with youth or doing it with family. I think this is a very good way, even to start a meeting. If you start a meeting, calm people down before you start into these meetings that and maybe not do all of this, but even just like a small mindful moment that you would do. So those are some of the handouts. Amy, if you would put my email in the chat, that way if anyone needs any additional information about the trainings that we do, anything like that, you can reach out to me, because I was trying to gather up all of my documents that I thought that you would want. So those were just a few of the documents that I had, but I'm always willing to share. So when we think about mindfulness, I think of peace, being at peace with yourself. And I think that it's peace every step we take. So it's every moment that we live in the present moment, and we're taking that step and being mindful of what we're doing. If you want more information about mindfulness, the scientific thing, National Geographic, this was a year ago. They did a whole magazine on mindfulness. So you're seeing it pop up more and more. You're seeing it pop up in therapy sessions. The labyrinth, they have a labyrinth that is a double labyrinth, and people, counselors or therapists will use that. So before a session, both the client and the therapist does the labyrinth together, kind of bringing them together. So think of all these things that you can do. So peace in every step. Think of that, peace in every step. Mindful walking is fantastic. I always recommend that. You know, actually walk and see. Sometime when you park your car, walking into work or walking, really look at the sky, look at the ground. What do you see different? Just that's being mindful. That's going to calm you down. Just that alone, learning to live mindfully, living in the minute. So as we breathe and we talk about mindfulness, you think of the body and you want the body still as a mountain, but that's not always true. If you can't sit still, like I said, you can do the walking. The breath, I like when I'm talking about the breath is visualizing the ocean coming in and out, swooshing sound. So think of the breath as the ocean, all right? And then when you come to the mind, think of it being open and undisturbed like the sky. So that's kind of some visuals that you can do. When I gave you the small Peace Begins With Me, another one that I did, I was in a particularly stressful, which was almost like before I started Write This Today. Thank goodness I have Samantha, who I was for a little bit. We were running around the school trying to find Wi-Fi and a computer, and it was just crazy. But I was doing something, and it was a really stressful Zoom type thing we were trying to do, and we were locking up, freezing up, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the Peace Begins With Me. I did a new one, and I said, I let go, I release, I accept, I surrender to what I cannot change. And I like that. I let go. I let go of what I let go. Just let it go. I released it. I accept that I cannot. And I surrender to those things I cannot change. So that being said, I'm going to do the next time I come back too. I'm going to do another guided imagery with you, but that's what we're going to do is like a guided imagery right now. Something else I want to bring up now. Generally when we were doing, you would think you were doing this, you think, okay, when lights out, quietness, you know, no disturbing type things, but you can truly find peace and mindfulness when you can find that moment in chaos. When you can have all this chaos going around you and take a deep breath and center yourself and come to the mindful present moment, that's when you've really attained it. So don't always think it has to be quiet. When you can become mindful and let all that stuff go that's going on around you, then you've mastered something. You really feel that you've mastered something. So what I want to do, if you, another thing is, if you are happen to be working with youth, especially with youth that you're not used to, we be very cautious. We tell people to close their eyes when they're meditating. There are a lot of people out there and children that are comfortable closing their eyes. They don't feel safe closing their eyes. So always give them an option to just gently looking down. So that is something I always do. I give that option because some people are uncomfortable in a setting like this, completely closing their eyes. So I'm going to start, and we're going to start with the breath. So I want you just to get in a comfortable position. We talk about mindful bodies, and with mindful bodies, you're sitting with your feet flat on the floor. You're sitting erect because guess what? When you're slouching like this, you can't breathe properly. Hands can be resting on your lap, or they can just be at your side, whatever's comfortable too. But we want to think that we don't want to be in a slouching position. So it's good to have both feet be grounded, both feet on the floor. So what we're going to start with is a body scan. I like to start, and this is something I think I did give you a handout on the body scan. And if I didn't, you can get in touch with me and I'll send it to you. So we're going to start with a body scan. A body scan can be done lying down or sitting up, in any other posture that you think about. So we're going to start begin by bringing your attention to your body and your breath. So we talk about that 3-part breathing, And as we inhale, we let the air flow down to the bottom part of our lungs. And as the air flows to the bottom part of the lungs, you're going to feel the abdominal muscles coming out. And as that air just flows into the middle part of your lungs, you're going to feel that rib cage opening up like an umbrella. Just imagine little tiny balloons in between your ribs. And as you inhale, that fills with air and expands the chest. And then as the air flows into the top part of your lungs, you feel the pressure against your collarbones. And as you inhale, we're going to inhale peace. And as you exhale, exhale love. I want you to kind of scan your body. If you find any pockets of stress, tension, worries, angers, grab a hold of those on your inhale, and on your exhale, release them. You can notice your body is seated wherever you're seated, feeling the weight of your body on the chair or on the floor if you happen to be on the floor. I want you to take a couple of nice deep breaths. And as you take those deep breaths, I want you to bring in more oxygen. It's enlivening the body. As you exhale, I want you to have an actual sense of relaxation, deep relaxation as you exhale. You can notice the feet on the floor. Notice the sensations of your feet touching the floor, the weight, the vibration, and the heat. You can notice your legs against the chair, the pressure, the heaviness of them, the lightness. Notice the back against the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, let it soften. Take a breath. Inhale, and as you exhale, let that stomach area just soften. I want you to notice your hands. I want you to squeeze your hands as tight as you can. Just squeeze them into fists. Now inhale, and exhale, release it. Just release those hands. Let them soften. Notice your arms. Feel the sensations in your arms. Let your shoulders be soft. Soften the shoulders. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft and relaxed. Soften your jaw. Think of your jaw. Soften the jaw, the facial muscles. Let them be soft. Then notice your whole body present. Take one more deep breath. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. Now we're going to use your mind's eye for a guided imagery. In your mind, I want you to picture a beautiful blue sky, big fluffy clouds passing by, and you're focusing on your breath. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I want you to look at those clouds. Some of them are extra soft, some are fluffy, and I want you to pick one. Maybe you chose it because you like the shape of it. That cloud is going to slowly come down. You're going to climb on that cloud, sink into the softness, let it wrap around your body. Focusing on your breath, I am at peace, I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I am at peace, I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. Slowly the cloud lifts up into the sky and you start floating among the other clouds. You feel the warmth of the sun on your body and your face. You feel the air gently blowing through your hair. And you're focusing on your breath. I'm at peace, I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I am at peace, I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. You hear the birds singing, the little tweet sounds. I want you to peek over the cloud, look down, and as you peek down, you're going to see a beautiful white sandy beach. Big waves coming onto the shore, lapping in and going back out. Slowly, your cloud comes down. You climb off your cloud. You feel the warmth of the sand against your feet, the grittiness of it. I want you to walk over and sit down facing the ocean, focusing on your breath. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I want you to take your hands and scoop up some sand. Rub it between your fingertips. Feel the grittiness of it. Now I want you to open your hands, spread your fingers, and just let that sand sift down in between the fingers back down to the ocean front. Now I want you to scoop up some more sand, and I want you to rub it between your fingers. Feel the grittiness of it. Now in that sand, I want you to place any anxieties, any struggles, any worries, any anger. Now I want you to open your hands up and let the sand carry that away from your body, leaving your body relaxed, your mind relaxed, your soul relaxed and free. You're listening to the ocean waves lapping into the shore. Your breath is following those waves, the inhale and the exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale as they come in, exhale as they go out. This time as the wave comes in, it touches your legs. You feel the coolness of the water against your legs. And then it goes back out into the ocean. I want you to survey your body. If you have any other anxieties, stresses, pockets of struggles, I want you to grab a hold of those. This time as the wave comes in, it touches your legs. I want you to release all of those anxieties and let that wave carry it back out to the ocean. Focusing on your breath, I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. Your cloud is sitting there waiting for you. You climb back on the cloud. You sink into the softness. You feel it wrap around your body. You feel safe. You feel secure, and you feel at peace. Slowly, the cloud picks you up into the air. You're traveling among the other clouds. Focusing on your breath. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. Slowly, the cloud comes down. You climb off the cloud, and you're back to where you started. Still focusing on the breath. I am at peace. I am calm, and everything's going to be all right. I know I am at peace. I know I am calm. I know everything is going to be all right. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. So hopefully we leave on a restful, peaceful, calm thought. Amy, do we have any questions?
There is nothing in the chat now. I think you've got everybody in a very zen place. I really appreciate it. That was nice, and it's just a nice thing we can do for ourselves. And I'll remind everybody that this recording will be, the link to it will be sent to you. So if you'd like to do that again, you absolutely can.
And
So
we will
any questions? What were you going to say, Pamela?
I will be doing another guided imagery the next time that we come back. I come back with you. how I'm going to wrap it up is I'm going to include the mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. So we'll be doing some chair yoga at that time, just some simple poses type things that you can do in an office setting. I always enjoy being with you. Remember, peace begins with me.
Simple yet powerful. Thank
Mhm.
you so much, Pamela, for taking the time to be with us. Everyone, thank you for being here. And